Hey everyone, how's it going? Zach Flanagan here with Phoenix Audio Technologies, your account manager. Um, I wanted to drop in. This is the webinar that you missed, so this will be the recorded version going out. I did want to say I did forget to hit record on the original webinar, so I'm going to go ahead and record a second session. That way anybody that missed it can get the content. It's very, very important content, and I think it can be very useful and help in adding those revenue streams for these opportunities that come through. So I'm just going to run through the webinar. It'll probably be a little bit quicker than the first one, as there's not going to be any questions or anything like that. So we'll jump right into it. What this webinar is about the Octopus, and it's about how you can save time with your installation of the DSP or the configuration better. And the things that we're going to go over in this webinar is we are going to go over, first, we'll take a look at the Octopus, its features, some of the inputs and outputs, and then we'll also take a look at scenarios where the Octopus is a great fit. So when do I want to push the Octopus? What types of rooms is it going to fit in? We'll flip that around, and we'll also take a look at when do I not want to push the Octopus? What rooms does the Octopus not fit in is equally as important to know as we right fit our customers. And then lastly, we're actually going to configure the Octopus right here in front of you. And then following that, I have a couple frequently asked questions. I will read and answer to you, and then I'll go ahead and end the recording, and I will send it out to you so you can check it out next week. All right, so we'll just jump right into it. The Octopus is our audio mixer in its simplest form. To get deeper into it, it is our rack-mountable, echo-canceling, noise-suppressing, beam-forming, automatic audio mixer, the long version. There's a ton of different scenarios or rooms that the Octopus can fit in. I always say if there's a room, the Octopus can probably fit into it. It's pretty versatile. What I want you to look out for is when your customer says they want an integrated solution. And I guess my definition of an integrated solution for a customer is when I start thinking of things like ceiling microphones, making microphones integrated into the wall, those gooseneck microphones or the microphones that are built into the actual table, the conference room table, that's integrated to me. Integrated also is usually something that's maybe has a controller, right? It's controlled by something like Crestron or AMX or Extron, all companies or devices that are fully integratable with the Octopus. All right. As far as that goes, different types of rooms that the Octopus can fit in. I would say it can fit into a huddle room, a conference room, executive board room, a large conference room, a classroom. Because of its daisy chaining capabilities, it doesn't matter if the conference room only needs a couple microphones or if it needs 20 microphones. You will be able to daisy chain the Octopus as you see fit to meet the needs of that room. And to quickly touch on daisy chaining, the Octopus is a 4-channel audio mixer, so you can have 4 microphone elements, okay? If you need 8, you need to add 2 Octopus units. So we would have 1 become the master, 2 become remote units. So you would need 3 total for 8 channels. And I want to point out, and I'll probably add this again just to make really dig it into you. The price list that you have, you'll see a special bundle of Octopus units where you just get special pricing for a 3-pack, okay, to help you with those costs. So when is the Octopus not a good fit, right? When do I not want to push it? So first, if the customer is looking for something like zoning or different sensitivity levels on each microphone, immediately Octopus becomes not a good fit. And, you know, there's companies like, or solutions from like Biamp and companies like Clear One that can often, you know, have more customizations inside a room like that, but that does come at a price. So then you add complexity to the installation, you add cost to the installation, you add time to the installation, which again, we'll revert that back to cost as well. It's both. The Octopus is designed to be simple, and by simple, I mean it's very easy to set up, and it's very easy to use. Once you set it up, You can store it, save it, and never reprogram it. So meaning you can move the mics around and not reprogram it. By flexible, I actually mean that same thing with the mics. Is if you had a bunch of microphones on a table or something like that, and they were hooked up to the Octopus, you could move them around. You don't have to reprogram that microphone dependent on the position because of the beamforming technology. And I'll go as far as to say that we have customers that kind of have like a mobile, maybe a cart, right? And it has an Octopus on it with some of these microphones right here, these Raven microphones. And they actually can push that around, plug it in very quickly, connect it USB to, let's say, a Zoom video conferencing meeting, and have them video conferencing call, unhook it up, leave the room. So very good, very flexible for those types of scenarios. And because of that simplicity and that flexibility, it becomes very cost effective. Because the ease of installation, you're going to see when I configure this unit, it's going to take, it would honestly take you probably 5 minutes tops. So you can save a ton of time on the actual configuration side of the install. Okay? Two other scenarios I would like to touch on where I do not think the Octopus is a good fit, but you can use that at your discretion. Excuse me. So if the customer doesn't mind having something on their conference table, then we want to go with the Spider. Like this Spider right in front of you with the dial pad. Many customers don't care. They're used to having a device on the table. They like the dial pad. It's more cost effective, right? It's not as expensive to go with the Spider solution. And because of the Spider, our Spider line's ability to daisy chain, so up to 15 units we can connect together. That's 4 microphones, 1 speaker with each unit. We can cover any size room. And so a lot of our competitors will have a conference phone that maybe can have 2 remote mics. They don't extend the audio, and so then you become very limited with larger rooms. So the Spider does not have that issue. It can cover huge spaces. It can have a remote mic attached to it that plays audio back through it. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going on to a Spider webinar. We'll do that next. Yeah, so the Spider, if it's okay, if something's on the table, please go with the Spider. And then lastly, so our device, the Condor, is very similar to ceiling mic. So it goes on the front of the wall, so below or above the TV, right? And it can cover up to 30 feet. So maybe the customer really wants ceiling mics, but they just don't have the budget for it. So you can lead with something as high quality as the Condor, built-in DSP, built-in echo canceling, all the stuff, built-in SIP line, and then you can have a ceiling microphone-like setup, right? Nothing on the table, for much less than it would take to actually get in there and install the mics and so on and so forth. But the Condor is limited to about a 30-foot range, so it doesn't always work out for every room. All right? Let's take a second and let's actually talk about the Octopus. So I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to show it to you and show you some of the inputs. Why don't I do that right now? Give you a closer look at what's really going on with this guy. All right. So the Octopus comes in a few different flavors. You can have add-ons. You can have a PSTN add-on, a digital add-on, or a power amplifier add-on. This model, as you can see right here, is the PSTN model. You would hook up a diode there. You know, we got the on and off switch and so on. Let me turn this around. So this area right here is where the power amplifier would go, or the digital connection. And this Phoenix terminal block is where the speakers would go. So keep in mind that if you will be connecting this speaker. So when you connect speakers to the Octopus, it can only be done in 2 places. One, power amplifier that you get with an add-on, it's 40 watt. 2, this audio terminal block, which would then be connected into wired speakers, which is what we'll do for this install, or it would be connected to your very own power amplifier. All right, so we have this area, which is the microphone. There are 4 microphones available, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have some analog for codecs if you're going to connect over there. And then we also have another XLR connection, and this is for daisy chaining. We have a communication port for that integration, like I said, with Crestron, Extron, AMX, then of course the USB port. All right, so I'm going to turn this around so you can kind of see what's going on here. I know it's kind of hard to see the details of it when I plug it in, but you will be able to follow along. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now as I get ready to configure the unit. So let's get to the fun. I'm going to configure a unit right now. So go ahead and time me if you want. I'm going to explain in between what's happening, but you'll be able to see how quick this really is. Okay? So let me get on here and share my screen with you. And before I share my screen and before we start the install, I'm going to go ahead and do one thing, which is plug everything in. So first things first. First, we take USB, and we're going to plug the USB into the Octopus, okay? So USB is engaged. So one down. That USB is also going to power the Octopus, okay? Second, I'm going to take this microphone I have with us. This is a Raven, just a tabletop microphone that we actually sell here. It's our very own microphone. So one microphone. We will only be using one microphone for this installation, just because, well, one, that's probably all you need for a room this small, and two, it's just going to make it more simple. And three, I'm going to connect the speakers. These speakers are wired speakers, so they are plugged into the wall for power. Go ahead and get that in here. As you could get a little feedback here, letting us know these speakers are on and they are ready to rock. Okay, that's it. We have 3 connections. Everything's plugged in. Last, and certainly do not forget this, let's make sure we turn the Octopus on. Green light on, switch on the front. The green light is lit. It is on. We are ready to rock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. Just 1 second. We got we are having a few difficulties with sharing the screen. Not a problem. I do know of a workaround, and we will have to figure out why that's happening later. So what I will do is I will just go ahead and join this meeting, which is 337-1669. Turn off my audio and video, and we'll jump in here. All right, so now I'm in the meeting. I'm in as Elmar. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, everybody can see that. Okay, great. So the first step is we're going to go on our website and we're going to download the Phoenix Octopus Test Wizard. I've already done that, so I will go ahead and open this up. Here it is right here. I'll go ahead and open up. There we go. So as you can see, we have our first page. So this first page is going to give us 3 options. So anytime you install an Octopus, you have to designate what type of unit this is. And again, I already touched on this earlier, but I told you about that master and that slave or remote type of unit. So if you are daisy chaining, the first unit set up, you're going to set up as a master. And then you'll follow suit after that with the other remote or slave units. Okay? Right now, this is a standalone unit. We only have one, so we will pick standalone. Simple as that. Hit next. And when we move on, let this configure for a moment. Once we get to the next page, it's going to bring us to the speaker page. All right. So this is going to allow us to test how voice and how music sounds out of our speakers. We know that we can change the volume later, but let's go ahead and set it right now how we want it. So let me give a voice a chance.
Thank you for using Phoenix Audio Technology products.
Yep.
Please set your level.
It sounds good. I want to turn it up just a little bit if that's okay with you all. Well, not that much. Perfect. Now let's see how the music sounds. And now it's a little too loud for me, so I'll just go down just a little bit. New voice.
Thank you for using.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Now we're good. Speaker is set up. Again, you can change that later through your PC or your controller, whatever you're doing to set it up, okay? So we're going to probably spend the most amount of time here. This is where we come to set up the microphones. So first things first, what type of microphone are we going to have? We have 3 different options. standard microphone, sound reinforcement, or auxiliary. I'm going to show you sound reinforcement and auxiliary first, and then go back to microphone, because this is going to be just a regular microphone. So let's go over here to sound reinforcement. So we would get to sound reinforcement, and what is sound reinforcement? Sound reinforcement is really when you need a presenter's audio to be played back through locally, and it takes their microphone out of our beamforming technology. So whenever you're installing an Octopus, all the microphones need to be the same because of our beamforming technologies and because all of them have the automatic same settings. And in order for our technology to work, we need those to be the same microphones. So what sound reinforcement does is it takes it out of that group and it allows you to, have different settings, sensitivity levels on that microphone. Okay? So just like you would on the regular microphone, you need to pick the analog gain that shows the level of the sensitivity. First things first would be phantom power. As you can see from our graph here on the right, the mic is not alive right now. I know that these mics need phantom power because I checked the user manual vigorously, and I know that they need 24 volts. So I will click phantom. Once you already see it started to come alive with 3 volts, not quite. Once I go to 24, you'll see it is starting to pick up my voice, and you can see how well it is picking up my voice. So it's doing a pretty good job with my voice right now. And then this local volume is the level of volume that is going to get played back through these speakers. Okay? So if I was setting up a sound reinforcement, I could turn up this volume, I could record, I could testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could play it back. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And that's sound reinforcement. Now let's go to auxiliary, right? When would you need auxiliary? So the local is all the way up here, so we're going to go ahead and turn that down. So auxiliary is going to be for media. So for example, you may have a classroom that has a DVD player set up. They're going to go ahead and need to take one of these microphone inputs. That way it can configure with our device. And any type of media are going to go on the auxiliary port. We're not going to be doing that today, so we're going to go back to microphone. Come back over here. Okay, so here we are at square one with the microphone. We're going to choose our phantom power, which we already discussed. We know that with the Raven, it's 24 volts. The Raven has come alive. So I can look at this graph and say, wow, it looks like my voice is right there in the middle. So that's probably good. But you know and I know that's good enough. Hearing is believing in this business, and we're doing audio, so let's listen and see how I sound. So when I hit record here, what it's going to do is it's going to test this individual mic. So I press record. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop recording. Play back. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That actually does sound really good. Maybe I want to take it to 42, right? Let's see, a little bit louder. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Louder. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after listening to it, the first at 36 sounds much better. You can't hear the room at all. It's perfect. And anything beyond that, I can actually just turn the speakers up. So that's perfect. We are good to go there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the next microphone. For this test, I'm just going to go ahead and switch this to mic 2. So we pop this out, put it into mic 2, hit our click. We're good to go. So microphone 2. Again, we're on microphone. Again, we're on analog gain. Again, we're on phantom 24 volts. We're good. Let's say somebody says, you know what? I want this one to be 30. So I don't know if you noticed this, but I'll definitely point it out for you. When you switch this to 30, all of the other ones switch as well. So as I mentioned earlier, because of our beamforming, all of them have to be set at the same sensitivity level. So we're going to keep this on 36. You may be asking yourself, well, then what's the point of testing each mic if they're all going to be the same? What's great about this test sequence is it allows us to test each individual microphone. And we know that this is the same microphone, right? So I'm going to do my test, and it's going to sound exactly the same as it sounded in mic 1 input. So we testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We play it back. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So it sounds the same, of course it does. But you all are going to have multiple microphones. So I highly suggest going in, testing each one to see how it sounds, to make sure there's no issues there. Now that we're done with the microphone setup, we would go through input 3, input 4, and then we would move on. This is actually the last page of the configuration. I know, very quick, right? There's a couple things you can do here. One is you can choose your output level. So this depends on what the Octopus is connected to. 90% of the time you're going to have line level, and then sometimes you have microphone level. It just gives you those options. Over on the right, you can see the actual output level of the Octopus, which is it's all the way. That's what we suggest. So what about the record here? Didn't we just test the recording of the microphone? Yes, we did. But when you test here, it will test all of the microphones together. So just to play along, we'll do that, even though we know we only have one microphone. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll play that back. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, okay, sounds great. So, in case you didn't believe me that that was the end, we'll hit next. The standalone unit configuration has ended successfully. So that's really all it takes to configure an Octopus. Wow, I know, easy, right? Yes, crazy. What we're going to do now is we're going to exit out of here. Go ahead and stop this screen share. I might just exit this meeting because there's no reason to be there anymore. So that's really how easy and how quick it is to configure an Octopus. Mind you, we were pretending that the Octopus was already maybe on a rack and the microphones were already in the ceiling. You still have to do all that work, of course, but the actual programming aspect of it is very, very quick. What I want to do now is I want to roll over to some frequently asked questions. These are questions that come up quite a bit, so I'll just let you know what they are and kind of give you some answers, okay? So a very common question is, why do I hear feedback? So there's only a couple reasons you're going to hear feedback, and one is there's going to be a problem with the connections. So it'll either be a problem with your existing power amplifier, or it's possible that your speakers are plugged into the incorrect ports. So the only two options, again, I'll reiterate this, for speakers are the Phoenix connector, which is the green terminal block, or the optional built-in power amp. Okay? Next, why doesn't the Octopus work with Mac operating software Mac operating system or Chrome operating system? So very great question. That comes up quite a bit, especially we do a lot of business with Zoom rooms, which are traditionally and mostly on Macs. They may have gone to PC now, I'm not sure, but I know most of them are with mini Macs. So what do you do in this scenario? Well, our application, the Octopus Wizard, that you need to configure the Octopus is a Windows application. It's only available on Windows. So what you would do is you would take a handy PC like this, you would plug it into the Octopus just like we did right now, and then once this setting is saved, I could unplug this, right, remove it, and I could take this and plug it into my Mac or my Chrome operating system, and it's going to have these settings saved, so it's going to work perfectly fine. All right, so there's a workaround. It's not a hindrance. You can hook it up to anything. It's fine. The last question I wanted to ask, why can't I set different phantom power levels for each microphone? That's a great question. I know I've already touched on it a couple times, but I'll do it one more time. You cannot change the different phantom power levels because the microphones have to all be set the same. So they must be the same and they must be set the same. Unless it's in sound reinforcement, then you can have a handheld microphone, different settings, the whole nine. But all of the regular microphones need to be the same in order for our beamforming to work. And that's what makes this automatic. That's what makes this so simple and easy to set up and allows you to have more flexibility if you need to move the microphones and things like that. And that's what keeps our costs where they are. So that's really all I have for you today. I did take some time to record this for you all, so make sure to watch it. I hope you'd enjoyed it. We're going to go ahead and start planning for the next webinar, which will cover the Spider series, I believe, and we'll probably do that next month. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.